think we're starting with Prophet, but maybe why doesn't everybody come and take the stage? I first met Prophet Walker the day that my oldest daughter graduated from Loyola Marymount University. I was down there, proud mother, first child to graduate, and I saw a news story about this young man who happened to be directly addressing the issues that David and I were so adamantly working on. This is pre-passing of Prop 36. So I don't want to steal any thunder of Prophet. I'll let you tell your story. It's an amazing one, and I'm lucky to be on the stage with you.
Thank you. That's pretty nice. Don't clap yet. But thank you all for having me. Thank you for taking up this issue. It's a huge issue that's not only perplexing California and messing over many lives in the inner cities and elsewhere. It's also just a national issue that needs to be changed. I was asked to come here. You're going to hear a ton of information from people who have studied this for many and will put numbers and data to all of this. I'm here, I hope, to shed some human light on this and make it very personal. So I'll start by starting with my young age. At the age of 6, my mother abandoned my sister and I in one of the worst housing projects in the United States. Unfortunately, she became addicted to heroin, and as a result, my sister and I were abandoned. And I remember being 6 years old, and like any other child, up until that point, I wanted to be possibly a police officer, a veterinarian, my childhood hero, whoever it was, that's what I wanted. But at that moment, when she abandoned us, my decisions, my thinking at the age of 6 became of survival. Became, how do I come out of this? How do I protect my younger sister? And how do I make some life at myself? So the dream in building, shaping a future was replaced with reality. Unfortunately, I kept on. My father actually, fortunately, tried raising my sister and I as best as he possibly could. He came and rescued us and tried to do the best he could, but we still lived in poverty. We still lived in the inner cities in Watts, California. And at the age of 16, unfortunately, I got in a fight where I fractured a gentleman's jaw as well as broke his CD player. And next thing you know, I was sitting in a court in the California State Prison system. I was tried and sentenced as an adult when I was 16 years old and sentenced to 6 years in state prison. And when I got that sentence, I had absolutely no idea what I would do. I remember walking into juvenile hall and kids will say, yeah, I've been here for like 5 days, and I almost fainted, right? I was like, 5 days, you gotta be kidding me. How would you sustain life? And so when I got the 6-year sentence, it was clear to me that something had to change. And I knew at that moment that I wasn't a criminal and that I could do something to change it. I had no idea, but I knew something. And so I went on to try and serve out my time and be the best I could. And I realized that education would be my one way out of this. You know, some found religion, some found different vocation trainings. Mine was education. And so I then went on to study and get a AA degree. But what I realized while I was getting my own education was that there were many people stuck in these prisons that were in fact not criminals also. They had committed a crime. And for all intents and purposes, we had to pay our debt back to society. They were not criminals. And they could be transformed, and quite frankly, if we had done something early on, they wouldn't even be here. And so myself and one of my best friends, Scott, we were able to co-author a college program for the state of California that would go on to serve. We started with 30 people, it serves a few thousand, where we take children who are sentenced to lengthy sentences and take them off of maximum security prisons where it's extreme violence, and oftentimes you go in one way and you come out worse. So we take them away from that and put them in an education environment where they can actually learn to to both think about math and science and philosophy, but more so begin to search yourself internally. And I think anyone who has an education, you learn very quickly that your college education and experience is less about the actual education and more about the networking and finding who you are and what you want to be. And so I then was able to graduate from this program with an AA degree, came home, went to the School of Science and Engineering at Loyola, where I met Ann's daughter, and my personal goal was to build buildings, and that's all I wanted to do. And thankfully I went on to do that, went on to build things from the Ace Hotel in LA to roller coasters to student housing here in Berkeley. But that wasn't enough, and I wanted so badly to change the plight of so many young people that still sit in those same housing projects and are still impoverished and will still likely end up in a prison if nothing's changed about it. And so I looked at that issue and said, I'm going to jump out there and do something to change it, and decided to run for the California State Assembly. And currently, I recently won the primary in June and will likely win in November. And while I totally think and appreciate the reaction there, I think that speaks to the larger issue. This idea that I came from a housing project, struggled my way through, made it to eventually be a state assemblyman and hopefully change this issue. Unfortunately, that's what's happening to some children. It's not happening to most. And my personal goal in life is to take away that piece of my story from every other kid's life, because we can. We have to focus in on what our larger issues are. We know that it's education, it's poverty, and then we look to our different experts to say, how do then we actually target real change? And I think you all sitting here in this room listening to the stories and being willing to take on such an issue is the first step. And as you all take on this issue, I can commit to you, like I've committed to everyone else that I've now spoken in front of, is that I'm going to continue to stand up for the issues of our juveniles and our youth. And I need you all there to support us as well. These children are your children. They're no different because they live in Watts or they live in Richmond. They're just children. They were born into unfortunate situations most of the time, end up making decisions that are relative to their environments and circumstances. And if we gave an opportunity, last point here, California just recently, part of the reason why I want to run for, or I'm running for state assembly, California recently passed in the budget $9.8 billion for our prison system. It serves 150,000 people. Our Cal State system serves over 500,000 students and was only awarded $9.6 billion. We're disproportionately funding our youth to go to prison and not focusing in on their education. We have to change this. We need your help, and I'm encouraged to hear from everyone else of how we do this. So thank you all for listening to me, and let's do it.